Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
Can you state
She's asking
categorically,
a question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a
question.
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll join us on our radio show every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. It's free. You just go to davejanda.com, hit the Listen Live button. It takes you to Wham Talk 1600 streaming service. Hit play, and you're with us. Great guests, great analysis. We're there every Sunday for you from 2 to 5 Eastern. Now, if you want the podcasts afterwards and enjoy them at your own leisure, that's part of our subscription service, also part of davejanda.com, where we upload free and public information on a regular basis. But we also have the subscription service, extra shows, extra content. We hope you become part of our Freedom family. The topic of discussion today is free speech. Free speech canceled. Yeah, that's what we're all dealing with. And it's only getting worse. It would best be to review the First Amendment. Seems particularly appropriate at this point. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that was the 1700s. Where are we today? Well, let me just give you a couple quick examples. And we're going to go into more depth on this issue and a number of other issues on our Operation Freedom Briefing. Now, because of the cancel culture that has taken over this particular platform, I cannot go in specific depth. Why? We'll get hit with another strike. And we get hit with another strike and we're gone. So here's what we're doing. Every Tuesday morning, when we normally would put Operation Freedom Briefing on this platform, we are putting it up at davejanda.com. It's free. It's public. Go there. So by 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, if you go to davejanda.com, go to the right side of the homepage, a little bit down on the right-hand side, boom, right there, Operation Freedom Briefing. It's there for you. It's free. And again, we're going to go into a little bit further depth. Now, the reason why I have to be careful, even more careful at this point, is what we've experienced in the past week and a half. If you have not listened to the tribute I did to Rush Limbaugh last week, that's actually still up on this platform, I suggest you do so. The people that have found it very inspirational and informative. You know, in particular, if you look at Rush, throughout his career, the deep state did everything in their power to try to cancel him. They went after his sponsors. They went after his content. Remember when he came forward about his opioid drug addiction, they tried to deplatform him because he had this medical condition arise. They went so far as to try to get around the current medical privacy laws, so-called HIPAA, and get his medical records released to the public. That's how far they went. Now, he took them on legally and won that battle. And he not just won it for himself, but he won it for every American. Because if they were going to do it to him, they were going to do it to you, and they were going to do it to me. But when I tried to present his tribute on our radio station at Wham Talk 1600, not this week, but the week before, Wham got hit with a huge power surge, took out the station. Our engineers, who are top drawer, got the terrestrial signal back up, but it took over 24 hours to get the live streaming service back up. And it is back up, and it's been, if you will, reinforced to try to prevent the next power surge that occurs. But then something happened. When I decided to put that tribute up to Rush, on this platform to make another presentation because the first one got deep sixed by the deep state. And that streaming service of our radio show is important because every week on our show, we have listeners from all 50 states and from over 120 countries worldwide that either download the show or listen to the show live over the internet. And I felt that with that tribute, because we needed to get that information out about not just about Rush, but about what he stood for on a number of different fronts, I decided to put the video up here. Now, interesting. Our IT team loaded that video late Monday night to be released Tuesday morning. Last Tuesday morning, I was notified that our number one viewed video that was about President Trump and the deep state that had been up for over 2 years, had I think 384,000 views, was taken down. It'd been up there for 2 years. Over 2 years. Could it have been in relation to what they saw about what I was going to come forward with about Rush? Because the way I phrased that presentation on Rush, how they could take that video down would have been off the charts. Which is probably why it's still there. But then an hour after that video was posted, they came after me again and hit me with another strike on a video I had uploaded 5 months before as it related to what Sidney Powell was doing legally. Challenged that. And to many people's surprise, I won the challenge, which is why I'm able to present today. But these folks are intent, let's put it that way, intent on turning the lights out when it comes to transparency, accountability, facts, data, evidence, and truth. Across the board, on all social media platforms, and folks in government are also intent in doing that. Turning the lights out. Which brings me to what happened in Texas. Let's call it Texas-geddon. Actually, that's a term that has been coined by Trader Steph, one of our guests on our platform. And she recently wrote an article about Texas-geddon is rasping the Green New Deal utopians. She recently put an article out, and she quoted a paragraph from the Wall Street Journal. And I'd like to read it for you, because I think it's very important. Now, remember, if President Trump was in the Oval Office when this event occurred, this weather event occurred in Texas, imagine what would have been said. That if there was no pre-positioning of assets, no pre-positioning of generators, of food, of water, of grid preparation, of a winterization of the wind turbines, that if the Army Corps of Engineers hadn't been pre-positioned there, they would have been calling it Trump's Katrina. And frankly, if he had not done all of that, what I just said, well, okay. I mean, he didn't learn from Bush then, and you know what? The pre-positioning of assets was critical. But the media has said nothing, because Basement Joe Biden did none of that. No pre-positioning of generators, food, water, hardening the grid, winterization of wind turbines, of bringing in the Army Corps of Engineers. None of it. And he showed up there a week later, just kind of wandered around for a while. Can you imagine? And have you heard anyone speak about Biden's Katrina? Of course you haven't. And that's what we're going to go in depth on our Operation Freedom Briefing at DaveJanda.com. Because if I go into further depth, happens to me. That's what happens. This is that paragraph. Texas spins into the wind. Between February 8th and February 16th, wind power plunged 93%, while coal increased 47% and gas 450%, according to the Energy Information Administration. Yet the renewable industry and its media mouthpieces are tarring gas, coal, and nuclear because they didn't operate at 100% of their expected potential during the Arctic blast, even though the wind turbines failed nearly 100%. The policy point here is that an electricity grid that depends increasingly on subsidized but unreliable wind and solar needs baseload power to weather surges in demand. Politicians and regulators don't want to admit this because they have been taking nuclear and coal plants offline to please the lords of climate change. But the public pays the price when blackouts occur because climate obsessions has made the grid too fragile. We've warned about this for years, and here we are, that from the Wall Street Journal, and here we are. And when it was predicted, listen to the interview I did with Joe Bastardi, and we have a chunk of that interview we did on the radio show up here on our YouTube channel as well, from the week before this Texas-geddon occurred. Now, the reason why Texas is so important is because this could happen in every state and in every community. There's this huge push for greening energy. And we saw the ramifications of that. And remember, a big part of the Great Reset is the Green New Deal. Ask the people of Texas now how they feel about the Green New Deal and the ramifications of when it gets cold and the turbines stop and the solar power stops. It's a huge problem. And many people, for many years, have presented data and facts and evidence and truth and transparency on this issue. And they've been denigrated. Rush was one of those people who did it. Joe Bastardi is another one. Been denigrated for coming at an issue from a scientific standpoint. You know, Rush was fond of saying that he had talent on loan from God. And this drove the deep state nuts. The superficial folks that looked at this said, oh, he thinks he's God. No. Understand why the deep state despised Limbaugh for saying that. Because every one of his millions of listeners, when they heard that, would say, wait a minute, if Rush has talent on loan from God, so do I. And my talents are A, B, and C. So if Rush could take his talents and do what he did and created what he did and build what he did, as opposed to Obama, you didn't build that, right? Government built it, right? No, Rush was the opposite of that when he was saying talent on loan from God. It was about using your God-given talents and abilities to build something that mattered positively to society. And the Great Reset and the deep state and all those puppets in Washington that have an R and D after their name. That's right, there's one political party. They're called the Republicrats. They're owned and operated by a criminal syndicate. You can call it the deep state, the New World Order, the globalist syndicate, the shadow government. You can call it whatever the heck you want. But there's one political party. And they're owned by that entity that does not want you to believe in yourself and your abilities and your talents. And this is why they tried to cancel Rush. many years ago and continued to the day he died. But they failed. They never canceled him. And that is part of the legacy of Rush Limbaugh. To stand up to your oppressors. To utilize your God-given talents and abilities. To make the world a better place. And part of making the world a better place is when you see an issue, to call it out. And what we do is we're calling out what happened in Texas Geddon. Or Biden's Katrina. Whatever you want to call it. I hope you'll join us for Operation Freedom Briefings. It's over at davejanda.com. We hope you'll also take a look at our other free content, and hopefully you'll want to be a part of our subscription platform. I believe one of the biggest bangs for the buck, if not the biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. Extra shows, our WTF Geopolitical Analysis show I put out every Wednesday, every Thursday. Our Insider Insight interview where we bring someone from behind the curtain to speak about issues that we could never speak about on YouTube. Or frankly on the radio. Why? Because the FCC and their deep state choke points would come in and shut down that station. That's why we have that secure platform, davejanda.com, for content you will not get anywhere else. We hope you become part of our freedom family. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.